Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown!
Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three in.
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, brought to you by our great friends at Andy Moore Honda. Make sure you go to andymoorehonda.com, where you can always get the best of new and used vehicles. And Endeavor Hospitality. Make sure you join the Wild Club. Go to your Apple app, Google Play Store. Join the Apple App Store today. Start earning Wild rewards. Great places like BB's Market, where we are each and every Friday. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com along with us as always. Appreciate you, my friend. John's at the controls. And it's the start of another beautiful week. And plenty to get to, my friend. College football, I don't know, man. Is it just my imagination, or is this just a really fun season so far of big games that are going down to the wire? I'm a little tired of field storming. We're going to talk about that. Why is Notre Dame rushing the field? That's what I'm like on. Whoa, time out. This is Notre Dame, man. This is the home of the Four Horsemen, and all. I can go on and on and on. I mean, yeah, you beat a team that was ranked high, but I thought that they were clearly overranked. I said that last week. Why are you rushing the field? But, I guess that's what kids do now. But plenty more to get to besides that. But go ahead.
No, I had this problem with I've had this problem in the past. And it's the same with LSU. Like, LSU just won a national championship in 2019, and they stormed the field after beating Alabama. Like, it wasn't that long ago. And they were number 10, and Alabama's number 6. Tennessee, I get it. It had been, 15 or 16 years since they last beat Alabama. I totally get why they stormed the field.
And at Tennessee, it wasn't just beating Alabama. It was like the coronation of potentially, who knows, until they got throttled by Georgia this past weekend. And again, that's why when they were made number one, I'm like, what? Why would you do that? If you knew they were getting ready to play, first of all, why? When Georgia has clearly been the number one team by everyone else. But no, the playoff committee, no, we've got to put them higher. And the reason I bring this up is because at best, I think that they should have been third or fourth. Okay, now if they get that loss at third or fourth spot, you move further down. Now they're just in the fifth spot, right outside, waiting for someone to lose, of which someone will, because Michigan and Ohio State play each other. And then Tennessee's right back in. So I'm like, yeah, this is BS.
Can I tell you, I think Tennessee's going to be number 4 on Tuesday. I think they're still going to be number 4 ahead of TCU.
That is just beyond aggravating.
It is.
They didn't lose a close game.
No, they did not play well.
See, that's the thing.
Finish.
They did not lose a close game, and that's what's aggravating about the. You can't tell me that there's not politics involved in all that. Of course there is.
Right.
The new AP poll is out, of course, and the coaches poll. No, did the AP poll come out yet, or is that today?
Yes, it came out. It came out on Sunday.
So yeah, there we go. Yeah, Georgia clearly at the number 1 spot again. TCU rising up to 4th, sliding in there. You got Ohio State, Michigan in between. Of course, they're going to play each other. Mm-hmm. So that's going to take care of that. But I'm going to be curious what they do with the loser of that game. Do they give them the courtesy of just moving them to the number 5 spot?
I think this is what's aggravating. This is to your point. This is what's going to be aggravating because the Big Ten doesn't get much of the same benefit when it comes to this regard. Tennessee could win out. I think they play South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and somebody. They don't have a very good schedule left.
But they're not going to even get to play in the SEC championship game.
Bingo. They can sit at home, and if Georgia beats whoever, probably LSU, then there's a great chance that because Tennessee didn't have to play that final week, they're going to be in the college football playoff. 100% agree.
Let's see. The only other Penn State, they're at number 14. And then you've got Illinois, took their second loss of the season. And I'm laughing because I really was hoping Illinois would go 11 in Indiana.
Yeah.
So, but now they're going to go 11 and bottom of Big Ten East.
Well, I mean, they don't play Rutgers, so we can't figure it out. What
is our guy Jeffrey the Greek going to say about that? I mean, I haven't looked at the Big Ten standings right now, so I don't know what's pull that.
I got it right here, Jim. Oh no, you can't see it.
Who's in? Who's on first? No, who's leading the
West?
Yeah, Illinois still leading the West.
Yep,
at 4-2 over Iowa. 7-2 overall. Wow, what an ugly looking conference. I mean, division. Seriously, that's never been that bad. They always have one team, whether it's Iowa or Wisconsin.
Yep.
Generally, that is very solidly ranked. Illinois is ranked, but your two losses are to Indiana and Michigan State.
Yeah, it hasn't looked pretty, those two games.
Both teams that their losses are to don't just have losing records, but they are in the bottom portion of the Big Ten East.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Michigan State and Indiana have gone a combined 3-9 in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
So they've gone 3-9. Two of those wins are over Illinois.
Which leads the Big Ten West. Yep.
Crazy stuff.
Here's the thing. I would say I almost give Illinois a pass against Indiana because it was the first game of the season, and there were some different things going on. But this was a little bit more egregious because Michigan State not only is not good this season, but they have
facetious and oblivious.
Exactly. They had a lot of their top defensive players, Angelo Gross, Jacoby Windman, and there's another guy, Julian Young. I'm not going to say his name. But they had three of their top defensive players were out of this game, Michigan State. And yet Illinois was, until like the fourth quarter, they weren't really even competitive in this game. Michigan State took it to them. So shout out to Mel Tucker because they could have cashed it in. They came to play.
Before I forget to hit up everybody hitting us up already on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Forrest says hello. He's on early. Brian says he took his mom to Culver's and met John Laskowski. He mentioned the car video that we did. Was not car karaoke. Don't worry. On our way to French Lick through Orleans. And he said, I was such a nice guy. Well, he's very kind for saying that. John is the nicest guy you're ever going to meet in the world. I forgot about that, Brian. But so you must be, Brian lives in Florida, I believe. So he was up visiting. Larry, on early. Tim says IU is a 21.5-point favorite over Morehead State tonight. We'll be talking about that. And Who's Your Daddy says that's a lock. Michigan only a 15.5-point. 15. Well, and we'll go over the other games that are coming up tonight as well as today kicks off college basketball, baby.
Hey, speaking of that, I saw Jeff Goodman put out a tweet. I don't know if it was over the weekend or today. Every top 25 team is in action tonight. I think that's the very first time that's happened.
Say that again.
Every top 25 team in the college football or college basketball top 25 is in action tonight.
Now, you think that's the first time it's ever happened on the same day or the opening day?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think it's the first. I thought he said the first time it's ever happened. me see if I can find the tweet really quick because I just saw it this morning. But he might have tweeted it out over the weekend.
Who does let's see.
I can't find it.
Well, you can't find it.
Of course, I would bring up an awesome stat, and then all of a sudden I can't find it anymore.
Talking about locks, Forrest says Ohio State is a lock at 41.5 on Saturday as they will host Indiana. Can't argue with that. I'm going to tell you. Let's see. Michael jumping on as well already says hello. He will be at the game tonight, and he will make sure to stop over and say hello. Please do. Sam says good morning from Hurricane Alley. He's in Winter Garden.
We're about to have another one
as well. Oh, is that right?
Yep.
I didn't see that. That's must be why he's calling it Hurricane Alley. Mike on as well. Wyatt says hello. Jacob, game day, baby. That's right. Doug's on as well. Let's see. Sam's predicting the score of 56-7 for the Ohio State Indiana game.
You might not be far off there. You can hope for bad weather because Ohio State did not play Northwestern well with that bad weather.
Happy birthday to Brian Bras today from Indiana. Just saw that pop up. Heath says, yep, IU hoops today. Notre Dame. I don't know. What did Notre Dame do?
Notre Dame upset Clemson.
Yes. He's talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
we got to that too.
We'll get, man. Quick shout out to Five Lefts. He called it. He said Notre Dame would win on Saturday, so he called it. Shout out Five Lefts.
There you go. Officially game day. Tim says he should have started with Dexter. Oh, yeah. We'll start about the IU quarterback situation. Absolutely. We're going to talk about that and some other things. Josh, down at Crawford County. That's a new one. I got to write that one in the book, man. I try to keep track of where everybody is, the comments. Appreciate you, John. Hope you're doing well, brother. It's down my old neck of the woods, kind of. I'm from out in Floyd County, but let's see. Five Left says we've had a tough season. People were saying Notre Dame was on the decline, so he must be a Notre Dame fan.
Apparently.
Tanis says politics is involved in what kept IU out of the. Yes, I agree with that. Absolutely, no doubt there. He also says seeing Tuttle get that start. He skipped the IU Penn State and went to the dispensary and enjoy some legal weed. Well, good for you. Yeah, I didn't. Okay, let's just does that mean we have to take a break, John?
You can finish your thought and then go to break if you want. That's fine.
Well, I guess we'll pick this up with Don Fischer joining us next. Of course, we're going to talk about tonight's opening game, basketball game, some, but we have to talk about this past weekend's ass whipping that Indiana received. But it's not that. There's just questions. Why? Why did you start a guy that is leaving?
Yep.
When clearly the best quarterback was not the first, not the second, but the third one you went with on this past Saturday, and it took you that long to get in there. And I want to know why Josh Henderson is not getting the damn ball. I've asked this question before. I've asked it in a press conference before, and I'm going to ask it today because I've done some numbers. I've been crunching some numbers. Currently he's averaging 4.5 yards per rush on the season and 13 yards per catch. Okay,
Unreal.
But he's only averaging about 10 touches per game total. Why? When you are so deprived of offense, why are you not doing everything you can to get to the ball to the guy who he's got the best numbers? Now, would those numbers go down if the more he's targeted? Sure. I don't care. You keep finding that line. You keep chasing that. Maybe they don't. But we've got to take a break. The great Don Fisher is going to join us next. We've got a great lineup today as well. Dustin Dopirak joining us hopefully as well. He's switching roles, by the way. We'll talk about that. Pete jumping on from Minneapolis. Appreciate you, brother. We're back with more. The great Don Fischer right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting. Good morning, Mr. Don.
Hi, guys. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm all right. Is my volume okay on this? Is that all right?
You sound perfect. You sound perfect, brilliant.
All right. Sounds good.
No, at least you don't have to do a coach's show tonight.
No coach's show tonight. I wish I didn't have one on Wednesday either.
Yeah, I wonder why.
My goodness.
Well, one thing I'm going to ask, Don, is about Josh Henderson. I cannot understand. I crunch his numbers. Why he does that? Why? I've asked that question in a press conference before, and I'm asking it again today because I've crunched the numbers at this late in the season. He's averaging 4.5 yards per carry and 13 yards per catch, but single-digit targets. Don't understand it.
I don't get it either, but then I don't get a lot of things with this football team right now. I don't understand Brandon Sorsby getting playing time. That was just I mean,
that was out of left field.
Well, I knew it going into the game because Alan talked to me. You know, we did our pregame show, right, hours before the kickoff, and he said that Sorsby was going to be the guy if they had to have somebody else come in there, and he comes in there and lays an egg, which you would expect a freshman to do, especially one that didn't have spring ball. It doesn't make sense. It just you're sitting here going, "Are you kidding me? What the heck?"
Because everything they do is on the conservative side, and yet that one thing is like so not conservative and off the board, but makes zero sense.
Right. There are so many questions to ask, and none of them are questions that the coach wants to answer. And unfortunately, that makes for a really freaking long talk show.
Yeah. Trust me. It doesn't. Well, hey, good thing is you've got basketball tonight.
That's the only good thing going on right now from a sports point at Indiana. I tell you that I think this program is in real trouble.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt because they can't do anything. They can't make a change. This is another year of this from a financial standpoint. There's no change coming, and the sad thing is of how deep that loss is going to go as far as fans, recruits, etc.
Yep.
We're not on a station where you live. We should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Monday. Another beautiful day. It's been this weather has been incredible. The great Don Fischer joining us, brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant, where normally on Mondays at 7:05, you will find him with Coach Mike Whitson for Inside Indiana Basketball. Not tonight, of course, because Indiana opens their regular season against Morehead State, and you can find him for the next couple of Wednesdays there as well. But tonight, basketball, no show there, so you've got that to get out of the way. We've got to get some football out of the way from this past weekend. Another loss, but it wasn't just the loss, Don. It was just, wow, it was hard to get through that one from a visual standpoint. It was just really like getting punched in the gut a lot.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Obviously, Connor Bazelak was on the sideline in street clothes, was not expected to play, or certainly wasn't going to play in this ball game. Therefore, Jack Tuttle became the number 2 quarterback, and he was the guy that started the contest. And obviously, in the early part of the ball game, looked very good. I thought he did a great job. We didn't run the ball effectively, but Jack did. He was the guy that actually got him going for the running aspect of the game.
Which is shocking, because that's been what we talked about, him being so stiff, and it wasn't the case.
Well, I mean, I've always thought Jack could run. I've always felt that about him. I think he's a very good athlete. The question was, in my mind, going into this ball game, could he hold up? And obviously, with this offensive line not blocking anybody, he couldn't. And he goes down with a shoulder injury. We don't know exactly what it is, but my gut is he's out for the rest of the season based on what we saw and how he went off the field. Therefore, they come in with Brendan Sorsby, a freshman quarterback who stunned me a little bit. I shouldn't say it stunned me because I was actually told in our pregame conversation with the coach
but it stunned the rest of us. I'll tell you that.
I know. So I wasn't stunned by it, but at the same time, I'm still surprised that was the decision that was made. And then Dexter Williams gets used because Sorsby couldn't get it done. And, there's nothing wrong with Brendan Sorsby. He's a kid that's got a lot of potential and that kind of thing. But thrown into that position, he didn't perform. It very much looked like Donovan McCulley a year ago. So you're down to your third quarterback. And Dexter Williams comes in and actually probably does the best job of anybody on the field Saturday because he can use his feet. He is a runner, along with being a very strong arm quarterback. But he did make a couple of mistakes. But at the same time, who wouldn't have under those circumstances? Because your offensive line can't block anybody right now. And I feel bad for Rod Carey put in the position to take over the offensive line job. Apparently, and here's the issue. You can't change what you've got on the field at this point in the season. You just can't. This is what you have to do in spring ball and in fall practices is to get your offensive line ready with a certain way of style and technique and all those kinds of things to play. And you can't change it in the middle of the year. And that's exactly what Indiana's trying to do. And it's not working at this point. And obviously the decisions on the quarterback situation have complicated everything as well.
The one thing I think about
was actually, just for quick numbers, Dustin, Jack Tuttle was 9 of 12 for 82 yards in a TD before he had to go out. So it would have been interesting to see what it would have been like had he been able to continue even with the offensive line. But go ahead, Dustin.
Look at Dustin shaking his head.
Well, I'm gonna make this comment, and then I'm gonna make another comment. So first of all, anytime I watch Indiana right now, I'm thinking of the John McKay quote: "We didn't tackle well, but we made up for it by not blocking either." This team just can't really do anything on either side of the football right now. The thing I've said now for a couple weeks, ever since this happened, I don't know how you feel about it, Don. You can't play Jack Tuttle. When somebody enters the transfer portal, to me, that sends a terrible message to your team that I'm not saying he's probably a great kid. I have no problem with him being around the facilities, working out, and Tom Allen and his staff helping him get to his next destination. No problem with that.
Right.
But to play somebody who has basically said, I'm checked out, see you guys later, and then to have him start a football game, number one, I think it sends a bad message to your team. Number two, why are you at least not playing some of the younger kids who you think are going to be the future, who you think are going to be the future of this program? It makes zero sense in my head.
Well, and you're justified in that thinking process because here's the other thing. When they told me, again, I knew this before the ball game. I was told before the ball game that Sorsby, if Jack went out, it would be Sorsby. And I'm thinking to myself, how is that possible? Because, again, you've got a quarterback that wasn't here in the spring. So he gets a late start in his preparation. He is the fourth string quarterback going into the season. So I don't get it. Dexter Williams has been on campus for 3 years. I mean, yes, last year he was out with an ACL, so he didn't play at all. He hasn't played prior to his stint on Saturday against Penn State, but he's been in the program. He's been around the program. He was, according to Tom Allen, was the most improved football player on the team in fall camp. He said that. I mean, he said he might be the most improved player we have on the football team this year at that point in the season. And again, it's before the season starts. So what happened? Why is he not the guy that gets this position? Because, again, as you point out, Jack Tuttle's in the transfer portal. Now, did they say, okay, Jack, we still want you to stay on and be the co-captain of this football team? I'm sure Jack was fine with that. Jack's a great kid. He is a great kid. There's no question about that. And I understand that they want to give him every opportunity to play wherever he's going to go next year.
Yes.
But in this situation with this football team, in the problems that they're having right now, what a morale that just destroys morale, in my opinion, because Dexter Williams would be the guy that you would go to if Jack can't play. I don't get it.
Yeah, and actually the thing is, to me, is they're putting themselves in a worse position by making these decisions, because you're losing fan support. Now, I don't know about inside the locker room what that's going with, and then you have to wonder these decisions, how they affect that support, and that is going to be critical because of the transfer portal.
Well, here's the problem. Now the morale of the team is the question mark. This football team's morale is a huge question mark. Nobody, not one player, went out there to sit down with a knee on the ground, when Jack was hurt. Not one. I don't get that either. You got a football player that's been in your program for 4 years, and he went to the transfer portal. Were these guys all upset that he was the guy as the quarterback that day? I don't know. I can't answer that question. But morale, and let's face facts here. We're seeing a team come off the field offensively on every play, and there's no enthusiasm. There's no fight. It's a defense now that is being put upon again with all the time that they're spending on the field. There's no morale on that side of the football because it's 1, 2, 3 and out, 1, 2, 3 and out, that kind of thing, or a turnover, whatever the case may be. I think the biggest question on this football team right now is the mentality of this ball club.
And to that point, I just want to point out real quick, Jim, not to cut you off, but the one thing you could say about Indiana this season was, outside of maybe the Cincinnati game, this team fought. They were competitive in every game, even in the Michigan game when they got blown out. They down 17-10 in the fourth quarter with the football, a chance to potentially tie the game. There was no fight on Saturday, and that's where I think you might be right, Don. And that's, to me, that's where starting Jack Tuttle really it did that. Capsize the boat. Is morale gone? Because this was the first time. Last year we saw it. This team did not fight, in my opinion, at all last year after they, got to a certain point. To me, at least this team was trying hard. It seemed like they were together. I didn't see it on Saturday, and that's, with 3 games left, that's a really concerning sign.
No question. I think this is I think right now the mentality of football team is the question mark. And from an offensive perspective, I feel bad for Rod Carey because there's nothing he can do at this juncture either. You've pretty much solidified how you're going to play this year, and changing a couple of things isn't going to make that much of a difference. And this team has proven that they can't block for anybody. It's at this juncture. And Josh Henderson, I just don't understand why he's not starting. He's the best. He's the best running back this team has.
I've got questions today for when we get to the press conference. I've been running numbers, and he is averaging 4.5 carries or yards per carry and 13 yards per catch, but single-digit touches per game. And that has been mind-boggling to me for all season. Or at least once we got about 4 games into the season, you could see, and I'm like, why? I don't even really care what the answer is. I'm like, do it anyway. I mean, what else do you have to lose? But so that's we'll get to that today at today's presser. Luckily, there's basketball to talk about tonight, Don, as the season opens. And
thank God you changed the subject.
And here's a unique here's a unique stat for you that Dustin informed us, and we've confirmed. This is the first time ever all top 25 teams are in action on the same day.
Wow. I did not know that.
I did not either. So we just learned that. So you can use that tonight in the broadcast. But kind of cool. Indiana, of course, one of those teams ranked in the top 15 as they open with Morehead State tonight. Looking forward to that. They were 23-11 last year. So it'll be a little bit more of a challenge than they faced in the last 2 games. Although I want to give Brayton Bailey a shout out. Don, if you notice, he had to guard Race Thompson that whole game.
I know.
And he was doing everything but sticking his feet up on the basketball stands to keep Race to. He worked his butt off, and Race ended up with 6 points, man. I got to give it to Brayton Bailey. He worked hard at 6'1".
Yeah, he's a chip off the old block because if you remember when Damon was a high school basketball player at 6'2", he was the post player a lot of the time. They used him in the post almost every ball game exclusively because he was probably their best. Well, he was obviously their best player. There's no doubt about that at Bedford North Lawrence. So he's a chip off the old block, and I agree with you. He had a terrific ball game in the sense of what he was asked to do out there. But here's the thing about this game tonight with Morehead State. Morehead State's had 23 win seasons each of the last 2 years. Their coach was the OVC Coach of the Year 2 years ago. They finished third last year in that league. They've got a bunch of new faces on this team. They've got a couple of transfers, a kid named Freeman, a point guard that is very, very quick up and down the floor with the ball in his hands, kind of like an Earl Callaway type player back in the day, if you remember who Earl Callaway was. Without question, yeah. And then they've got a post player who's been a two-time NAIA All-American, the best player in their conference, and Alex Gross, a kid from Hope, Indiana, played at Hauser High School, who was 6'10", 250. So he's not going to be afeared of going into Indiana in the Assembly Hall and playing up against Race or Trace, either one. So it's going to be interesting. And they've got a bunch of new faces. Their coach has obviously proven he can take transfer portal guys and fit them in where he needs to fit them. And they're expected to win the Ohio Valley again this year. They were picked number 1. So this is going to be it's not going to be an easy test, but at the same time, it's going to be a much better one than the 2 NAIA schools were able to provide, even though I thought both those teams were really well coached and played their butts off.
I'm really interested to see pace of play tonight from Morehead State because this is a team, I believe they've got 3 guys that are 6'9", or 6'10". They don't have a lot of forwards. Everybody else on their roster is listed as a guard. So they're going to try to push tempo. I think they're going to try to shoot a lot of threes. It's going to be a really interesting interesting matchup on both sides of the floor because I think Indiana can take advantage offensively on the inside, but can they defend the perimeter? I mean, we're going to find that out pretty quick, I think, tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this will be a fun game. I think it'll be interesting to see how Indiana fares in that regard. I do think that Indiana's a better defensive team than they were a year ago here at the outset of this season. That's the one thing that seems to be the Mike Woodson really challenges these guys to play defense first because the offensive side of the ball, I think now, based on what I've seen, can take care of itself. I think this offense is going to be much better this year. And here's the other thing. I think this might be the deepest I've seen an Indiana basketball team since I said it was the deepest back in 2012-13 season when Cody and Victor and Wilshie and all those guys were there. And I thought that team was the deepest at that point. But then remember, they had a couple of injuries that knocked out the kid from Tipton, I'm forgetting, Derek Elston.
The Tipton Tornado, baby.
Yeah. And Derek was a character, but he was a really important piece to that team. And he was hurt most of that year. And they had a couple other guys that got banged up that season too. And it just wasn't as deep a team as we thought it was going to be. This team here might be even deeper than that one was here at the outset of the season, based on what we're seeing in the first 2 exhibitions.
I agree, Don. When you have a guy like Malik Renew coming off of the bench, he could start for a lot of Big Ten teams right now. He could start for this Big Ten team right now if they didn't have Race Thompson and Trace Jackson Davis there. I'm quite confident of that. But Indiana, and we talked about this game tonight, Indiana needs to be challenged because their schedule ramps up quickly. You play Xavier just the 3rd game in to the season. And then you have a few more games, a couple of games in between. And then you've got to play the top team in the country, North Carolina, as well as Arizona and Kansas. So they're going to be challenged heavily. So these other games, they need to be challenged to a degree, a little more so than they were in the openers. But I think they'll get that challenge tonight. But man, I have really enjoyed watching this offense. The one thing I'd like to see Xavier get a little more in tune with the flow of the game and being more of a point guard. But hopefully we'll see that just find its level. Hopefully that water will find its level.
Well, as well as I do, we saw the same thing from X last year. He started out the year trying to do too much, trying to go too fast. We've seen that already in the first couple of exhibition games. And Mike Woodson's already said, you got to slow down a little bit. I'm not saying you should be watching the flowers, so to speak. I want you out there playing hard, but at the same time, let the game come to you. Quit trying to force the issue. And that's a little bit of what X tries to do here. And hopefully it doesn't take nearly as long as it did last year to get him to understand that.
Yeah, and so tonight kicks off Indiana's season, and like I said, you've got another game this Thursday. It doesn't stop, and they have travel on their first road game to Xavier. So get a couple of home games under their belt before they have to hit the road and then back home against Miami. But the start of this season, there's just so much excitement, and I know there's excitement because of these last few years have not been what Indiana fans have wanted, but there's good reason for excitement this year. This team is really, as you said, deep, but they're not only deep, they are talented deep.
Right. There's no question. And the big question mark right now still, I think, in this and to most people's minds, can this team shoot it well enough? They're looking right now like they can, but again, the competition ramps up pretty quickly here, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. But I think there's reason for the optimism.
I agree. Don Fischer, make sure you tune in for his broadcast tonight. And I know that there's the new feature where people I've always loved to do this, where they can sync this with their TV. I saw it. Of course, I don't ever get to do that. But how do you do that, Don? Do you know?
It's an app. It's a website or something you can go to. syncmygame.com, I believe it's called. And you can literally learn to sync up your television with the radio broadcast. And there's a million ways to do it now, because you can slow the game. You can actually with it.
I've done that.
Yeah, you can slow things down. So you can pretty much sync it up with a lot of different ways. But there is a number of ways to do it. I don't know how to do it either because I've never done it. I'm doing it again.
That's right, man. Well, make sure you get it done tonight. Don Fischer's on there. Don, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Hope you have a great day.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. See you.
You bet. The great Fish joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, make sure you tune in for his broadcast tonight. Coming up next, the great Dustin Dopirak, who is now the beat writer for the Indiana Pacers. But he knows all, so we love talking to him. Back with more, brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's a deal. So that means you won't even be coming down here anymore, huh?
I'm not. I see. Look at Schutte with representing.
So that means starting today, you no longer have to go to Tom Allen press conferences.
That's correct. I will not go for that.
Rick Carlisle is much more
of all the ones to miss. You're going to miss this one.
I know. I mean, I asked my question yesterday. I did not. I don't know that I got an answer. I mean, I'm still just.
What did you ask? I forget.
I asked about Sorsby and Williams because he didn't really explain it the first time, and he didn't really explain it the second time either.
That's shocking.
John, you probably can't find that, but if you could find it for maybe the second segment, that would be great.
Where was it? Was it from the post game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you have
your question, Dustin?
What's up?
It was
I was
your
like
question?
third or fourth. I was like third or fourth. And I said, let's get back to this. Like, how did Sorsby get himself in a position where you were?
Don Fischer doesn't know. I can tell you that. I mean, he knew beforehand, but he was shocked. He was as shocked as us. And it just makes zero sense.
Sorsby was taking snaps with the twos. What was really weird was like when because you usually get a sense of who's going to be the guy when they come out with the centers. Like after the special teams guys come out, the quarterbacks come out, take snaps from the centers, and you could tell, okay, whoever's taking snaps from the one center is the guy. And so they just did a big old loop around there because they brought Carpenter back, and it was like, okay, I guess that means he's the starting center because Kadick wasn't snapping the ball, and Tuttle was taking snaps from Carpenter, and Williams didn't take snaps at all. So they had 3 centers out there. One was snapping to Tuttle. Carpenter was to Tuttle, and I think it was Tamus, and I can't remember if it was Murphy or not. But whoever the other 2 guys were snapping to Gremmel and Sorsby. And I'm like, okay, what is this? and then when Williams got out there, I was even more like, once he actually played, I'm like, all right, like, you know, I somebody told me that they heard from somebody that Williams had a bad week of practice and, you know, sort of just fell off the mark. I'm like, well, you know, we haven't seen Dexter Williams play since August, you know, and only so much then. So it's like, I don't know, maybe we're just putting stuff on the kid and presume he's so much better than he is. All right. And then he got in the game and it was like, nope, no, we weren't. There was a clear difference between him and Sorsby. I mean, dramatic. You know,
15. Jim, if you want, start off with basketball this segment, and I'll get that clip he's talking about for the second segment. You can talk football if you want to do that.
Okay.
Just separate it, but you don't have to. Just suggestion.
Nope, that'd be fun.
Now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is a Monday, starting off this week with sunshine. Can't beat that. At least it is here. And speaking of sunshine, Dustin Dopirak joins us. How about that segue, baby?
I'll take that, Jim. I bring it everywhere I go. I at least try.
Yes, he is. You're always sunshine. You always bring.
I do what I can.
It's never down.
I appreciate that. I do.
Even the negative. Even when we talk about stuff that's bad, it doesn't seem down. It seems chipper.
That's right.
I'm chipper in the way I describe Indiana football state of affairs.
I don't know.
What
else do you have?
How you feel about that? Does that feel sociopathic to like Indiana football fans who are like, this guy's talking about how our team is just falling apart and he's just laughing about it? So what's
well, sociopathic might not be the word, but like
this
maniacal,
man has no
maybe
emotion. Like
what else can you do?
Yeah.
You know, speaking of what some news about Dustin Dopirak, if you were a follower of his or if you're not, he's covered a lot of things in his career, but most recently, of course, Indiana, but now switching roles to cover the Pacers, which congratulations on that. First of all, that way, because you don't have to cover IU football anymore. So there's that.
That's true.
And you get to focus on one sport, which while that sounds easier, maybe it is, I don't know. It doesn't matter because professional sports are a year-round endeavor. And
there's a lot more games.
And a lot more games. We're going to be 82 of them, baby.
Yeah. So 10 of them are passed. So I think I'll only be about 72.
There you go. So you're 10th of the way in. You're good.
Yeah. But no, obviously, you know, one thing that helps certainly looking forward to covering professional ball again. I've done it I wouldn't say on a limited basis, but I had one season covering the Steelers and Pirates in Pittsburgh a few years back, and looking forward to trying it again. And you know, like the idea of I've been covering college kids for a long time. Like the idea of covering more adults. I feel like that'll be nice. And, you know, obviously the big help is just that, you know, I've been living in Indianapolis this whole time. Obviously, when I came here, I was at the Athletics, so I was bouncing in between Purdue and Indiana, and this was a good center point. And, you know, my wife obviously was working the Star, now works at Chalkbeat, and has been covering this city. So I've been the one making the drive, so I'm not going to miss the drive. But I will miss Bloomington, and, you know, I'm always going to keep my eye on the IU beat and what's going on and everything like that. And I'll always be connected with there. So I'll always be keeping up on what's up. And am bummed to not be, you know, there is a trade-off not to be covering this IU basketball team for as much as IU football has been rough. This is going to be a very intriguing IU basketball season. Obviously, everybody's going to be just fascinated by where this goes. But they got a chance to be really, really good. You know, I think that we can, you know, you can't peg them exactly where they're going to be so far. But for what we've seen, I think we can fairly say, you know, like this team's no joke. It's not a reach to make them one of the Big Ten favorites. Whether they win the whole thing, who knows? You don't know in November where the ball's going to bounce. But this is going to be a fun basketball team to watch, and it's going to contend for the title, whether it wins it or not. At the end of the day, it's going to be in the mix for it.
I absolutely agree with that. I don't think anyone can predict they're going to win the title, but I would be beyond shocked if they are not contending for it right up to the end. If they don't win it,
if they're not top four in the league, I'll be shocked. If they're not top four in the league, I'll be shocked.
I think maybe even top three, I'd be shocked because
I feel like as we've said, and I know Zach and I have talked about this a lot. Like it's kind of a dart toss after them, but you believe in a lot of them. Like like it is one of those situations for at least in Purdue's case, in Michigan State's case, you're certainly looking and saying, well, I trust Matt Painter and Tom Izzo to have them there, to have them in the ballpark. Like they have decent rosters. You don't look at them and they don't, like Purdue doesn't blow you away the same way they did last year, but they're like, okay, well, you just trust Matt Painter that the Fletcher lawyers and the, Brandon Smiths and Ethan Mortons of the world are going to be fine. And Trey Kaufman-Renn is going to be a thing. Michigan.
And don't forget about Mount Edie.
Yeah, exactly. And Zach Edey 7'4", so all he has to do is just stand there and grab the basket.
Yes.
And Michigan State's got guards, and Michigan State has Izzo, so they're going to have a shot. Michigan has Hunter Dickinson; they're going to have a crack at it. You presume those transfers at Illinois and Ohio State are going to make those teams pretty competitive right away. You don't know how that is going to shake out. You don't know how scheduling is going to make a difference. Indiana, I think, has a tougher Big Ten schedule, might have the toughest conference schedule in terms of who's on the list and who's not, who's 2 plays and who's 1 play. So like there is a disadvantage there, but look at this roster so far. I mean, like, especially, the degree to which Hood, Schifino and Renew are the real thing, puts you in a position where, okay, like that's not the same roster that you saw last year. You're not just looking at them and team running back and team running back and saying, okay, well, if they bring back more guys than everybody else, so that's why they're up here. But we expect
Indiana's substantially better.
Their 2 best new guys are really good.
They are substantially better than they were 1 year ago. A little stat for you that Dustin brought to us this morning. Today, the first time ever, all top 25 teams are in action today. But it starts at noon. Number 5 Baylor took on Mississippi Valley State. Then you get to the evening games.
I thought that was going to be like an interesting TV game. So there's just going to be a massacre on television someplace.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, you never know, man. These early seasons, you never know.
You do. Like
most of the time.
Here comes Dustin to spoil fun again.
That's what I'm
just when I was building him up to be Mr. Positivity.
I know.
He pees on the parade, baby.
I'm like, man, that's rough. Make a Baylor bye game at noon. Oh, come on, man, that's rough.
Well,
that's hard.
But it starts at noon, and the last game starts at 11:30 tonight with Sacramento State at number 8 UCLA. I will not be watching that game. That's I'm
not staying up for that. I guess they're squeezing them all in because I think everybody's got election day off, right?
Oh, there's that. Now, number 17, Arizona. If IU fans are interested, they do play tonight at 9:30. It's against Nichols. But there's a future opponent coming up. Illinois takes on Eastern Illinois at 9. Trying to look at some of the other Big Ten games. Oh, number 1, North Carolina takes on UNC Wilmington at 9. I don't see any other. Well, there's very few. There's only 3 Big Ten teams that are even ranked. Michigan
got Purdue, Fort Wayne. Yeah.
Hey, that could be decent. That might be interesting to see. I don't know what Purdue Fort Wayne has right now.
Unless they have John Conchar back, I'm going to bet against them being able to.
And then I'm looking. If I didn't see Illinois, where's Illinois? Who are they playing? Because I know they're ranked, but there they are. Oh, I mentioned them. Eastern Illinois. So there's that. So you got that going for you, which is nice. A day full of college basketball.
Yeah, it gets started. It gets rolling. I mean, it's going to get interesting fast. Obviously, you're going to see early season games that matter pretty soon here in the not too distant future. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fun year. It's going to be an interesting year. I think obviously, as we've discussed on here, the fact that you have more guys staying because of NIL. Like you go into the season with established guys. While there's going to be like it's a pretty good freshman class, I think. Even though the top 2 guys in the draft aren't going to be playing college basketball. Like you have some new and interesting freshmen, but you also obviously have some seniors, some veteran guys, just basically because of NIL gives them a reason to stay. We've talked, especially with guys like Trace Jackson Davis and Oscar Shebue and them about really good bigs that aren't necessarily 3-point shooters that have sort of stuck in college basketball for that reason. Makes for, I think, just an overall more intriguing product this year when you're going to have a lot of those teams that are you just have an anchor that have been around. Drew Timme, basically, Armando Bacot. Looking at that North Carolina team, is going to be really, really talented, and they, there are other teams that are going to be that good. So that I think is going to be cool. It's going to be an interesting season where it's going to go back to not just being all freshmen, where you're going to have some freshman guys that are going to be one and done, that are going to be awesome, but you're also going to have teams that have vets that are built to win or challenge for a title, and it's going to be an interesting collection of teams this year and a very interesting run in college basketball.
Of the entire slate of games running through Sunday, I only see one game that is eye-catching: Michigan State versus number 2 Gonzaga, and that's on Friday at 6:30 on ESPN. So that's an interesting game.
I didn't even. I just because I've been thinking about transitioning. When's the Champions Classic? Aren't they still doing that
next week?
Is that next week? They moved it forward.
That's a good question. I can tell you in 1 second. Just pull it right up. Michigan State.
Yeah,
is it the same team still playing it? November 15th on a Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kentucky, Michigan State.
At Gainbridge Fieldhouse, of course.
I don't know.
Duke,
This is
Kansas.
weird. I don't even know.
Duke, Kansas, Kentucky,
Duke,
Michigan State.
Yeah.
And this will be, they also do this, the college football playoff rankings. They do it at halftime of the first game or in between games or something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, and speaking of that game being in Gainbridge, the talks about Indiana and Kentucky renewing. When I had Alec Lasley on from the Hoosier.com, and me and him, we disagree. I think that they will schedule the games in the Yum Center in Louisville, in Gainbridge, or I don't know, Lucas Oil or not. Then Rupp, then Assembly Hall. That's just my guess, because that's 2 years from now, and then you add another 4. That's 6 years from now. Calipari is not going to be at Kentucky 6 years from now. I absolutely don't believe that. So I don't think he has a problem signing that up, because you're like, I won't be here.
Yeah, no,
that's just my guess on how it's going to set up.
The only, I don't want to say it's a disagreement, but the only argument I would have for you there is I don't think, I don't know if Louisville is going to be okay with them using the Yum Center. And
well, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't belong to Louisville. They don't have a say over that, and that's why Kentucky plays other games there.
Say. I mean, it seems
Kentucky plays other games there.
Do they?
They used to always play in Freedom Hall.
They used to play at Freedom
Hall. Always.
I know, but it's not the same thing with the Yum Center. Kentucky has never played a neutral site game in the KFC Yum Center. I didn't
think so.
Living down here.
So. I mean, I don't know what the difference is as far as contractual whatever. But I got the impression I'm on usually got a radio hit on Thursdays in Louisville, and I got the impression from those guys that Louisville would at least have some kind of say in that. Whereas they didn't used to have it in Freedom Hall. Cause Freedom Hall, Freedom Hall is obviously in the exposition center there, I'm pretty sure that's just a state building, and now Bellarmine's playing there. So I don't know that Kentucky or Louisville ever had nearly the control over over Freedom Hall that it has over the Yum Center. So I don't know.
The Freedom Hall was definitely
it's not on campus either. So it's not.
Yeah, they don't have a that? Yeah, neither of them are on campus. But Freedom Hall was part of the exposition center.
Yeah,
it was very close to it, but it was on the it's on the Fair and Exposition Center.
Right. Neither one of those are technically on Louisville's campus. Freedom Hall is at least in the ballpark. Actually, no, it's not. Now that I think about it.
Oh, it's in ballpark. Yeah, no, it is because actually,
I for some reason I get turned around by what's where in Louisville.
It really is, Dustin. If you think about being on I-65 going south, and you get to where the old silos used to be, where they had the Louisville stuff on it. Right behind that are fields that Louisville use, whether it's for soccer, tennis center, other things.
There, Papa John's,
baseball stadium, Papa John's, and then. It's very, very close to the exposition center. They use that for parking. So
that's right.
They're very close. Whereas the Yum Center is on the river.
Right. Yeah. So that's the thing but I think Louisville's got more control over that. And I feel like I have not heard when I've heard about this discussed. I don't think I've ever heard the Yum Center like being a real piece of it. But in the old days, Calipari was willing to play in Indy twice. So, now that was the time. You got to remember, one, they absolutely thought they would get Lucas Oil for that. And that was when they were starting to play Final Fours in big football stadiums, in particular, like they played them in domes before, but I think there's at least a slight difference between the domes and the retractable roofs in terms of just, what the feel is like. And so he wanted to play games in there at the time. And also, they were recruiting the heck out of Indy. I mean, this was when they were.
That's the biggest reason.
Out from Tom Crean's nose, which they eventually did. Yeah. So,
and they get half the seats. Say if whatever the neutral site is.
But he's more willing to do that. And like I said, I don't know if Louisville has veto power on it or whatever. But yeah.
So let's say then Lucas Oil twice and then home and home.
Right. Or Gainbridge twice and home, or Gainbridge, Rupp, Gainbridge, Assembly Hall. Yeah, I think we're
my
all.
My point is Assembly Hall will be the last time. My point is Assembly Hall will be last in the line of 4 if that's how they do it. I don't know, but again, that's 6 years from now, and Calipari will not be at Kentucky 6 years from now. I'm pretty certain of that.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I don't know. I mean, he's John Calipari. I'd believe anything. Like who knows? I mean, I could see him still being in Kentucky. I could still, I could see him making another NBA run. I could see him deciding he's going to go coach pros in Italy and do what Patino did. Like, I mean, it would be different because Patino basically got run out of town, for NCAA reasons. But like, I could see Calipari being like, I'm going to go retire to, like, I don't know, Rome or whatever, and I'm going to go coach basketball there, and I'm getting out of town. Like Calipari would do that. Wouldn't blow my mind. Anything's possible.
I think he likes the attention too much. I think he stays here. He does something. He also
might go out there and come back. I mean, who knows?
He talks about that summer basketball league, something that he brought up. So who knows? But we have to take a quick break. Okay. Dustin Dopirak with I don't know who he with. Indianapolis Star. Yeah, and he started to stop and think. He switched from Bloomington Herald Times, now with Indy Star, covering the Pacers as their beat writer. But we're back with more, brought to you by our good friends. If you're in the Indianapolis area looking for a home, Cheryl Sizemore with Remax Realty. Her 2 decades of experience could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. And if you're in the southern Indiana, Louisville, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott County areas, Barbara Pop Real Estate Services has served that community for 3 decades. Make sure you reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or my man Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. They will get you taken care of. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore.
All right, I've got the, if you all start talking football, I've got the Dustin's question that we can, I have the answer to the question.
Cool deal.
We'll talk about it maybe half. I don't want to
talk about it. You don't feel like you have to do
it's
20
depressing.
Minutes of football.
No, it's depressing. We'll get to the Pacers and what all you're going to be doing with them. And actually, it's kind of a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, I do
want to talk a little bit about this football thing, though, because, like, I don't know. I mean, I feel
this is the first time for me, as just considering a fan, where I don't feel like I trust Tom Allen anymore to make good decisions.
I get that. I feel weird saying that because I feel like,
We all do.
Don't understand. Like, I just don't. And he didn't, like.
I think he overthinks stuff that shouldn't be overthought. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
I personally think his complete lack of offensive experience just kills him.
I get it. I mean, I guess. I don't. Maybe this is different. Like Wilson had the opposite problem. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
and those guys always do. All those great offensive guys,
Yeah.
they score 50 points a game, but they give up 48.
Right. And the thing about it is that I don't. It seems odd to me to have the opposite problem. Like to be. It seems odd to me not to be able to understand offensive football if you understand football. Like I know that's a strange thing to say, but like we all know what a good quarterback looks like. I've never coached a day in my life. The only time I played 1 year of football and they didn't even give me a playbook. I was that far down the depth chart. So
I'm with you.
Yeah, I was not good. This was 8th grade. I was like 4'11", you know.
Did we play on the same team?
Was that?
Yeah, we play on the same place. I was the same way. Like the biggest insult in my face was we were playing a team and we were up like, I don't know, in junior high you get up like 30-6 or something and the game's pretty much over. So they put me in and I was running the ball and I had like, I don't know, not a lot, maybe like 25 yards on 5 or 6 carries. And then we got to the 6-yard line and they pulled me out. So I've still never scored a touchdown in my life.
10 seconds.
From Remax Advanced Realty, let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Monday here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway. Hope you're having a great start to the week. We are. Got Dustin Dopirak, Dustin Schutte. We're having fun no matter what, even though we have to talk a little bit about IU football. It's not, you know what? The irony is the Colts and the Hoosiers, how similar do they look?
Oh, it's bad.
I mean, they're very similar, though, because they've had quarterback issues, which actually have offensive line issues.
Yeah. Defense
last week, they give up, they got the lead and they give up that damn pass to the 2 with seconds to go. It's like, are you kidding me? Then yesterday they get just totally waxed by the Patriots. What was the score? Something to 3?
26-3, I think.
Yeah, just
sacked 9 times.
I mean, geez.
Yeah, it's bad.
But Indiana, we talked earlier, 4 quarterbacks. They went through 3 on Saturday, not in the order that we certainly expected or thought it would go, or the way it should have gone, to be honest with you. And I can't wait to find out why today, if we do find out why. That's the one thing, is we don't get answers, because I've asked about Josh Henderson probably a couple times, and that's something that we're going to have to look at, and this and that, and it's situational. BS. If you want to get the ball to a guy, you call the damn plays that puts the ball in his hands. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing I would say is that they have a higher opinion of Sean Shivers than a lot of other people do. I think that's like, I don't, this quarterback thing really is kind of hits a new level of, I don't understand. Because with Shivers and Henderson, they've been pretty straight about it the whole time, that they kind of feel like it's a dual running back situation. And, they kind of feel like they're both equal. They want to use them both. They like both of them. And that just apparently means they like Shivers a lot more than most people. And I don't think Shivers is terrible, but I think just, body of work at this point, Henderson's been the more effective guy, play by play and whatever. And, Shivers' best days have been against lesser competition, piled up 100 some odd yards against Idaho. I don't think he's terrible. I think there are a lot of people that talk about him like he's worse than he is, but I think Henderson's been more effective. I think you could say that. So it's more of a case of, all right, like it's shifting the workload, and the workload should have been shifted more, but it's not like Shivers had a ton of carries, yesterday.
He has 4 touchdowns and 106 carries.
Yeah. I mean, he has gotten, he's been the more effective guy. He's
no, I'm talking about Shivers only has 4 touchdowns in 106 carries.
What's Henderson got? Henderson probably has 3.
He has 3 in however many, half that
probably.
Yeah.
That's a function of just a bad Indiana offense. I mean, they're both scoring from short, they're both scoring from close. It's just Indiana hasn't had that many plays in the, in the red zone. Hasn't had any that many plays inside the 10. They're not a terrible red zone team. They don't get there half the time. When they have good drives, they're okay. It's just they have a tougher issue just moving the ball.
Josh is a senior. Does he have another year, or is this
Shivers? Shivers is done.
No. I'm talking about Josh Henderson.
I think he has another year. Yeah, at least.
If he stays.
You have to constantly redo the math. Okay, when was their COVID year? Did they have a year where they only played less than 4 games? You got to dig into it a little bit to figure out what everybody's eligibility is. But yeah, bottom line, he's got at least another year. They have some more time with Josh Henderson. That one, it's okay, well, it's just a question of balance. They're going to use both guys. It's just a question of how much. And they don't want, they're not going to come on and tell you, well, actually, you're right. This guy's great. This one sucks. And we need to make sure that this guy's carrying it 30 times a game. This quarterback thing didn't make any sense to me. This is the first thing that really didn't make any sense to me. That I can't even begin, because on the same note, I was questioning, and it didn't make a huge difference, but just from a youth and ceiling perspective, why Khalil Benson and Josh Sales weren't on the right side of the line all year. Why those guys weren't the starters all year, especially since Matt Bedford went down. And at least after a couple of weeks where you kind of saw that, Parker Hanna was not particularly effective on the right side. Wasn't sure what took so long. They Tom Allen was talking up Khalil Benson all offseason about how good of a job he did, and they're finally at the point where they're starting him. So I'm even a less, more, vexed by, why that move wasn't made earlier. Then kind of switching the division of labor at running back. This quarterback thing, though, I didn't get at all. Go ahead, Dustin.
The roster management has been, in my opinion, pretty piss poor. I think John has the clip of your question to which Tom Allen, so we can run that really quick.
Yeah, so I would say this: those guys are very, very, they're both young. They're both, talented guys. We've probably seen more of Dexter than we have of Brendan for sure. I think both of them have a bright future. So to me, it's just, there's really not a, I think they're very close. There's no doubt about it. I actually thought today, Dexter played better, so made more plays. So to me, that was, you don't know until you play them, right? And so to me, they're both very equal. There's no doubt Dexter's been here longer, but at the same time, and moving forward, to me, it's just those guys are going to be battling it out, but not a question. And so I liked what I saw from Dexter, to be quite frank with you. So, but I think just the consistency of making throws. Obviously, the pick was not a good decision, and so we got to eliminate those. And obviously, Brandon threw a pick, but his was a little bit different. But at the same time, you like to be able to have both those guys be developed in our program and continue to compete, because I think they both have a really bright future.
Why?
Yep.
Why? If you think they have bright futures, why in the hell are you starting Jack Tuttle? He's going to do nothing for this team. I don't understand anything. All right. I legitimately think, I'll let you talk here in just 1 second.
The thing that Don, go ahead.
Jack Tuttle starting is a fireable. I'm not even joking. Scott Dolson could have walked into that office and said, "You're done here." That is such a morale boost. This Saturday was the first time that team didn't play at all. That team they rolled over all season long. The one thing you could say is Indiana has not given up in any game this season. They did, and it's because I think it's because they started Jack Tuttle. There's no morale there. You're going to have a bunch of people under the transfer portal, and 2023 is going to look even worse than 2022 because of that decision. All right,
I'm gonna go 3 points here. I don't
quick. Just let me point this out to you before Fish pointed out that when Tuttle went down, no one came out and put a knee down. None of his teammates. None of the
weird.
IU teammates.
So that seems weird to me because, like, one, the way they pitch it, right, is, and so it's like, all right, if this is a lie, and like, obviously Fish is closer to this program than I am. Fish is, part effectively of the program, and I am not and have never been. So if what Fish is saying is that Jack Tuttle as captain and everybody's, favorite backup quarterback is not true, then that's interesting, and that's different than what we've heard, and that's different than what we've been told. We talked to AJ Barner about Tuttle at the end. I'm going to push back a little bit on you on this. Now, if that's different, that is what it is. So the thing, like, the way that they have described this has been basically that they're treating Tuttle like he's a graduating senior, less like he's a transfer because he's been there 4 years, he's getting 2 degrees, been doing the job behind the scenes, sort of deserves the opportunity. And he's been out there before. And so if your argument is that, I can see this as a conceivable argument that, he's played, Dexter hasn't, and Tuttle is well ahead of him. I understand that. Number 2, he had at least one really good drive. The best drive they had yesterday was Jack Tuttle at the helm. And I thought, frankly, when Tuttle was out there, that's the best I've seen him play since 2020, at least. And so I don't want to.
His stats were good. He was.
I don't want to bury that kid. He completed his first 6 passes.
Yeah.
He is faster than I remember, notably. He's gone through injuries and stuff. That's the fastest I've seen him run. And he definitely made plays with
most mobile,
escape stuff in the pocket. He was the best guy yesterday, and I get the idea of, okay, he's checking out. Why aren't you pitching forward? And Dexter Williams showed you some flash that tells you this guy's got to get on the field and you got to see what he has because you need to know. And so I absolutely see the argument for not playing him. I see the argument for playing him. I don't think it's I don't think it was crazy to play Jack Tuttle. Okay. It might have been wrong. It might have been the wrong move, but it wasn't nuts because he at least come out there and he was the most effective guy. He ran the offense. He's been around. You could argue that, if you want to win that game, if you're only thinking about what's your best chance to win that game. Now, I think you have no chance of winning that game no matter what. But if your point was, in a vacuum, your best chance of winning that football game is Jack Tuttle, I understand that argument. But the thing about it was, no matter what, Jack Tuttle's hurt now, and Jack Tuttle's out for the. He looks like he broke his collarbone, right? We haven't heard he's out for the year yet. I expect, that. I'm not going down there, but I expect, whoever goes down there will find out that Jack Tuttle's out for the year with a broken collarbone. Again, that's just what I saw on TV. Not on TV, saw from where we were standing, saw when we saw the highlights. That looks like a broken collarbone to me. I obviously do not have anything approaching a medical degree, but I've watched, we've all watched a lot of football. That's what that looks like. Maybe miraculously that collarbone survived. We'll see if it's different. But one way or another, he was out. He was done. Once he was out and he was done. What? So the thing about it is, though, too, and I always kind of try to keep this in mind. These guys know way more football than me. They get to go to practice. Again, I played 1 year of organized football. They didn't even give me a playbook. So I'm not, I am not a genius at this. So I'm not trying to, speak out of turn and act like I know more than these guys. I don't. So what I try to do generally as, a reporter that's around this is kind of hold them to their own standards. When they say one thing, all right, keep that in your pocket and remember it. And say, okay, well, this is how you described this situation before. Now you're operating differently. All we heard about last year when McCulley came in is how difficult it is to pick up a college offense if you're a freshman and you didn't come for spring practice. Basically like how much that puts you ahead of the game when you don't have that. You're not, there is a difference between the true freshmen who get there early and the ones who don't. And you don't need obviously, you hope to not have to play a true freshman anyway. You know, you hope you get to sit him for the season, and then he gets that second spring practice, and it's not a whole lot different. You know, that he's still on track, and you've got a quarterback that can handle that. But Brennan Sorsby, you know, didn't even sign until February, so wasn't on campus until June, and has been like the fifth guy. You know, so what kind of reps has he got at all? Like has he got any reps with the first team? Any reps with the second team? You know, and I asked that question, and they were like, you know, like asked that question to AJ Barner. And the question I was asking to Tom Allen was, how did he get himself in this position?
Right.
How did Brennan Sorsby convince you that he deserved to be on par with Dexter Williams when Dexter Williams is in his third year in the program? Obviously, one of those was lost to the ACL tear, but he was there. He read the book. You know, read a college playbook, you know, was there taking mental reps, getting a sense of what it's like to run a college offense, be around college football players. You know, he's had 3 years. What tells you that Sorsby's ready? Again, Sorsby might be fine long-term. They really like him. I get it. And nothing that I saw Saturday tells me, okay, well, he's obviously overblown. He looked like a true freshman getting thrown in there and not knowing what he was doing. Dexter Williams looked like he knew what he was doing, at least, even though he threw 2 picks. He at least could move. Like, he wasn't scared of the speed. You know, like, he was clearly the fastest guy out there. He's got real arm strength. He didn't make every right decision. He threw 2, you know, picks, one of which I would say was just bad. He just floated it. So I'm not sitting here trying to, you know, anoint Dexter Williams as the savior of the Indiana football program, but there was a clear difference in who looked ready and who didn't. And it's just like, again, like you just got done telling us all of last year how hard it is for a true freshman to do it. Why is he getting thrown in there right after Jack Tuttle just got his collarbone broken and he gets sacked the first 2 plays? And you're like, I mean, like, you know, they were saying, like, well, you're protecting Dexter Williams. Like, no, you're not. You're putting Brennan Sorsby in harm's way. Like, you know, that O-line's not protecting anybody. He's a true freshman. He's not as fast as this other guy. He's got a real chance to get hurt today, and he's lucky he didn't.
All this talk by fans about coaching change, and I don't see that. I'm not suggesting it in any way, but I'm also saying I don't see that coming because of the financial impact on Indiana. I don't think that they're in a situation financially where a change could be made. Look at the fact that a year ago, Tom Allen had to pay part of Nick Sheridan's buyout. And maybe he had to help with Darren Hillers. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think Zach did the reporting on that, and I think that they found that he did not. But I think, you know, obviously we just saw a big buyout with Archie Miller, and we were talking all last year about, you know, so 2 sides of that coin. You know, there was definitely the thought of, okay, you know, is $10 million too much? You know, when you're paying off.
But who's going to pay? The thing is, many more people care about Indiana basketball, and it's so important. Who cares? Where's that big donor guy that cares that much about Indiana football? I know there's some of them out there, but
right. Well, I mean, technically,
what are we looking at? 20 million or 20 plus million?
Yeah, 20. It's. I think it's gonna be right around 20 million. It's lower than we thought. It did get, I think, restructured when he took his pay cut. I think there was some level of restructure there in terms of the buyout, but it doesn't come down that much. I think it comes down to like 20 this year, where I thought it was 25.3 because that was what would have been remaining. I think they restructured the buyout for it to be specific. So I think they're going to owe him, like, instead of it owing him 4.7 per year, I think they owe him 4.1 per year, if I'm not mistaken. So, but that's still, and it's just like, again, like, so I guess in theory, you know, like, it's how much do you know, donors care? You know, can you get, instead of, apparently they got 1 guy to pay off Archie last year, can they get, you know, 20 people to pitch in $1 million each to buy out Tom this year? I don't know. I mean, I'll say this, and again, like, you always feel bad talking about guys getting fired. Now I feel less
exactly.
bad. Feel less bad talking about guys getting fired because we're talking about how much money they're going to get to not work.
Right.
That's true.
You know, I've been laid off before, and I did not get a $20 million buyout. So
we don't even get $20.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Dustin.
Not unemployment.
If that doesn't happen,
that's fair.
How do you go in to next season with this? I mean, it's basically, I hate to say this, but he's like a dead man walking.
Yes. How
this season has gone, where it has gone. And once you lose, like you said, the morale of the team, the support of fans, how do you have an entire new season without making change? I don't
I mean, there's going to be. I'm sure there's going to be changes made too, even if he is kept. And
right,
I like obviously, the money was bought by brought in by goodwill. I mean, obviously he won before, but like he's a good dude, a legitimately good dude. I mean, for as much as like
everyone loves him.
One thing I feel bad about seeing where I'm like, when I see how fans react to this, and it's like, oh, stupid Leo, and I'm like, you know what, Leo's not the problem. Like, you need football players. It's not bad that he wants everybody to love each other. That's not a bad thing. That's not bad in the program. That's not bad in life. Like generally there are a lot of good life lessons that you can learn from listening to Tom Allen and people like him and stuff like that. So I hate seeing like, it's like you've tried being a nice guy, and it's not working well enough. So why don't you try being a jerk?
Well,
I don't like that, but
but
all of a sudden you got to win football games.
Yes. And here's what I'll give defensive Tom Allen. It sounds like I rip him. Like the decision making is questionable. He is a good dude. I do still really like him. Here's one thing we need to keep in mind too, and it's not. I don't think this tenure is going to end well. He did some good things for Indiana. He took it to new heights, but also
depends on how you look at it.
This was an inexperienced head coach taking on arguably one of the 5 toughest jobs in America. To be fair,
what's tougher
in Power 5 football?
Right,
like,
right.
I mean, you could, obviously there's some dregs at the bottom of the, other of the group of 5 conferences, UMass, that Walt Bell just got out of, like there are some tough jobs. But as far as Power 5 football, Indiana, Kansas, Vanderbilt are the ones that kind of stand out to you.
Well, next time what we'll talk about is when Indiana gets this windfall of Big Ten money in 2024, they can't wait that long, but do they look ahead to the future, know that that's coming, and make more investments in the football program, which really haven't been made? I don't want to hear about closing in the stadium, all that crap. That
was something that you can. I mean,
it's something, but that doesn't do diddly squat for the play on the field. And I'm like,
well, yeah, it does. Look at the north end zone. You have to remember what it used to be.
What I'm saying is that can't be the things that you look at as your crowning achievements. That's nice and all, but crowning achievement is winning on the field. And
but when you're talking about investment, though, like that's investment. Like it cost real cash.
I'm talking about real coaches.
Again, they're spending the reason why we're talking about whether or not they could fire Tom Allen is they paid him a real salary. Like when I started covering this beat, Bill Lynch was making $650K a year. Tom Allen's making $4.7 million.
Kevin Wilson's buyout was less than $1 million.
Well, which negotiated because he screwed up. I mean,
but see, which is worse to me? All right, what he did was obviously cheating, but it's
not cheating. It was just you couldn't.
But if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So which is worse, cheating, trying to win, or losing badly?
Well, it wasn't even cheating that it was his issue, though.
Exactly. So
it was being a jerk, and now I get the morality of it.
Well, Archie Miller made $26 million for being a jerk.
Okay, redefining. Kevin Wilson was apparently putting, athletes in harm's way. That's not cheating. That's not helping your program.
Yes, you're right.
And that's not that's not good morally, and it's not good for your program.
John, the producer, is slapping my hand. We are so far over. Man, we could go on. But that's why I love having you on. We could go on all day about this stuff, and so I love it.
I'm not going to be covering this program, but I'm available. I'm not going to frequently. I don't have to drive down to Bloomington on Monday, so
I would love you to stay. We love the discussions. Plus, all right, brother. Hey, have fun. When's your first Pacer event?
Games tonight, 7:45. New Orleans Pelicans.
Let's go.
Zion Williamson's coming to down. Pacers look better than I think a lot of people thought they would.
They just need to lose well. Just lose well.
Lose well. The only issue is there's only one guy you really, really want. And
tell Bob Kravitz we said hello.
I will do that. All right, I'll let you go because John's got to be like, come on, we got to make money here.
Oh, he is killing me. Dustin Dopirak
Later,
from
y'all.
the Indianapolis Star. Thank
See
you,
you
sir.
guys.
Appreciate you, brother. Make sure you give him a follow. We're back with more. Brought to you by our good friends at Metalworks Brewing Company, located just off the square in Bloomington, former Function Brewing Company. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I-
We'll
we-
just split these last 20 minutes into two segments, 2 10-minute segments.
I'm also out.
Yep, Mr. Schute's gone. Another
Bye,
thing too.
everybody in
Another thing I hate
sports
when you
beat.
go over is when I have to pee, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, I can't get up and pee.
Oh, because you don't know when I'm gonna.
That's pretty good.
Oh,
All right. See you, Indiana Sports Beat fam. See you tomorrow.
have a good one, brother.
You too.
Yeah. So when we come back from this break, I'm gonna hop up, be gone for like 2 minutes, and then I'll be back.
Yeah, because I'll probably talk to you. Oh, also, damn it, there was a clip.
It's all right.
The
We only
very
need clips today. We only got 20
Well,
minutes left. We already
The
used
very
the
first,
one.
the very first opening clip of James Franklin was pretty good. I liked it.
Is it a good
Heath-
like talking point conversation?
He thanked all of the media for following them there. Thanked their fans.
Huh.
I've never heard that on the road personally.
They must have had a lot of big presents.
No, that's James Franklin.
Okay.
He is if he might be my favorite coach to talk to in the Big Ten on football.
Wow. I see. Just from looking from afar, he always seemed like kind of an ass, but I guess I've never met him. So
Nope. Very, very approachable. Watch the Chad Powers thing.
oh.
I mean, seriously, he is pro college football. He is pro players. Every Big Ten media days, he is just always talking about subjects that are relevant to the game. So
Robert Schwartz.
which one? Which one? Where
The
did it
bottom
say?
one. Talk
Thank you,
about
Doug.
the issues in the background.
Absolutely, folks. Hit the like button. Hey, we need to push the
The
Hoosier.
Hoosier. Yep. We'll do that right when you come back. I'm going to hop out after that for like 2 minutes and then I'll be back. I'll text you and stuff just to update.
Put
you.
100 on Mississippi Valley State.
They're
What was the
bad.
spread?
They're
I
probably one of the
forget.
worst college basketball programs ever. Here we go.
Card fees. Now, there is a limited number of memberships available, so go to eaglepoint.com right now and get yours today.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Monday here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway. Sunshine. Man, what is it? I haven't even looked at the forecast for today, just out of curiosity. I know it was so nice yesterday, and I never went
I think
outside.
we're going to be in the
once.
70s by mid-afternoon.
Well, not where I am.
Oh, really? That's
It's
disappointing.
going to be 0% chance of precipitation, sunshine, and 64 degrees, which is quite fine. The same, mostly there's partly cloudy tomorrow, 64. Then 72 on Wednesday, 72 on Thursday, 63 on Friday with a little percentage chance of rain. Holy cow! What the hell?
You're looking at that drop-off
Friday.
for the weekend?
Friday, high of 63, a low of 28.
It's
What
here,
the
baby.
hell is with that?
November is finally arriving.
Saturday and Sunday, highs of 39 here, lows in the low 20s. No,
Hey, that just means basketball season's here, baby.
screw that. It means it's cold.
Hey, it's also a good time to sign up for Rivals, isn't it?
Absolutely. Don't miss out on your chance. I think this promotion ends tomorrow. 50% off your first year. Get full access to all the inside coverage of IU basketball. What's that? It's like $4 a month. So I know you guys can afford that. Help the guys. That's how they cover the events, man. It's not free. Going to the events, traveling, getting the information, getting those interviews. It's hard work, and they need your support. So please reach out and get yourself a membership with thehoosier.com. Has that special going on right now, 50% off. I would appreciate it personally. I know we got a lot of great listeners from all over the place, all over the country, really. But even all those mostly in Indiana. But 42 states, baby, in 21 countries. You guys need that information. So make sure you go to thehoosier.com and sign up. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Trying to get to some of these comments, which were many. Peyton Manning to host the CMA Awards on Wednesday. Yeah. Also tonight is, and it sucks that there's an IU game tonight because tonight is a Manning cast. Damn it. And I will record it and watch it, but it's not the same. It's just not the same because it's a game that I'll know the outcome to. And I just really enjoy watching those. And there's only 10 total for the year. This is probably the fourth already. There you go. NCAA basketball. Pete says, any bets on who is the first top 25 team to lose tonight? Likely not going to go 25-0. Well, that's a great question. Where did I have those?
Let's take a look at that slate because that's a very interesting.
Well, I had it pulled up a minute ago, and I'm trying to. If I've got so many daggone things opened up, I can't find it now, so I've got to read. But that's a great because there are no truly tough games, like I said, until Friday. Michigan State taking on.
I've got it pulled up for
Gonzaga.
us if we want to. I'll name some. You let me know if you think it's going to be an upset or if it's just going to be a typical season opening 20-point victory.
Oh, and let me forget about before I forget about this NASCAR news yesterday. First of all, Joey Logano wins the race in Las Vegas and the championship, his second NASCAR Cup championship, which puts him in elite company. But Ty Gibbs won the day before. Ty Gibbs, the grandson of Joe Gibbs, won the Xfinity Championship in front of three drivers from Junior Motorsports, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who he had told his guys not to take him out. Although I saw a clip with Dale Jr.'s former crew chief, Steve Letarte, and he said, if 54 wins that race, my what did he say? His trust in racing guys is lost, which meant if somebody doesn't put his butt, into the wall or something, because he has been a horrible driver as far as the race before, he took a teammate out on the last lap that was leading the race, that would have allowed two teams or two members of his own team to make it into the final round, but he took his own teammate out to win that race and was not welcomed very well. But anyway, he wins that Xfinity that night or sometime. His father, Coy Gibbs, who was a partner in that business for a long time with the team and a former assistant coach on Joe Gibbs' second staff with the Washington then Redskins, passed away. And we haven't seen why yet, but he was only 49. So that was very, very sad to see regardless. So just wanted to get that out. Wyatt says he does not expect anyone to lose tonight. He does not see a single upset happening.
Let's take a look. We'll go through these quickly. Mississippi Valley State at number 5, Baylor. I think that'll be an easy blowout. Howard at number 4, Kentucky. LaSalle, number 16, Villanova. LaSalle's had some good teams in the past, but so you never know with that one. Fort Wayne, number 22, Michigan. Jacksonville, number 7, Duke. Tennessee Tech, number 11, Tennessee. Morehead State, number 13, Indiana. Lindenwood, number 24, Dayton. Northern Colorado at number 3, Houston. Omaha at number 5, Kansas.
Omaha.
There you go.
Omaha.
Was waiting for that.
Omaha.
North Dakota State at number 10, Arkansas. Arkansas Pine Bluff at number 14, TCU. George Mason. They've had decent teams in the past, taking on number 15, Auburn. I mean, we got plenty more to talk about real quick. St. Thomas, Minnesota at number 9, Creighton. Longwood at number 20, Alabama. The number 1 team in the country, North Carolina, will be hosting UNC Wilmington. They've also had some NCAA tournament teams in the past.
Yeah. That stuff happens at the end of the year, man, not at the beginning generally. And all of these games,
I don't want to read all of these, but there's trying to find the one that might be.
These are all home games.
Of course,
by these teams too. So I agree with Wyatt. I don't see anybody losing. Of course, that doesn't say it can't happen.
If I was forced to put a bet on any of them, I would probably do LaSalle Villanova. I'm trying to see what the closest spread is on these games.
And I would not disagree with you only because that is a crosstown rivalry, I believe. Isn't LaSalle?
Auburn's only 10.5-point favorite against George Mason. That's so far. I'm looking at the spreads. That's the closest.
That's a good program. George Mason, a good program.
Yeah. So maybe that's the upset to go with. One of those two.
I'm not going with any of the upsets.
Hey,
as a matter of fact, wow. You know what? I'm going to do a 25-team parlay.
You know what? That is what an idea tonight. Do a 25-team parlay. I'm curious though, with it being all games like this, if it's really worth the payout.
I'm going to take them all on the money line. 25-team parlay? Are you kidding me?
It just seems like you're setting yourself up for George Mason. Here's the thing. It's going to be because of you, Jim, that George Mason or LaSalle wins tonight.
Do we have to take another break?
We do. Want to go ahead and take that while you're making your parlay?
Let's take that, and then I'm going to pull it up so I can say what they are.
All right. Take us on.
All right. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to see how horrible my bets go tonight. Welcome back. We got more coming up. Cabello Restaurant, of course, located on the square in Bloomington. Make sure you stop by. Enjoy the traditions and taste of Southern Italy right here in Southern Indiana at Cabello in the former location of Grazie. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're a
Also, I realized earlier we do still have 20 minutes of the show because we start late on Mondays. I usually don't forget that. So we'll have a regular length of a segment here. I'm glad I remembered because I would have ended the show early if I didn't think about that.
Well, that sucks now because now I would have taken that segment a little longer. But
I know. As soon as you took us to break, I looked up at the clock and I was like, "Oh shit,
right.
We still have more time."
Where's NCAA basketball only? God dang it! What's crap, man?
So I apologize if y'all hear my dog barking in the background. I decided to let her outside.
I do hear that little bastard.
I know. Hey, it was about a year and a half ago, and
where the hell's basketball, man?
What are you? You're looking for bets?
Just college basketball, yeah. NFL,
basketball,
NBA, NHL, football, soccer, tennis, UFC, auto, boxing, Major League Baseball, golf, rugby, cricket. What are you kidding me?
I'll be right back. I'm gonna see if I can let her in before we come back.
Oh, man. All right, let's see.
All right, I was unsuccessful. It's okay. She did shut up, at least for now. All right, here we go.
Part of the Rivals Network. The Hoosier.
What is it?
Michigan State's not ranked, are they?
I don't believe so.
TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. What a great show already today. Don Fischer joined us earlier on, of course. Dustin Dopirak from Indy Star. The college basketball season opening up tonight with all top 25 teams in action for the first time ever, which is an amazing stat. I'm going through a betting app and trying to find every top 25 team, and some of them are locked on the money line. Because I'm like, all right, what if you bet every one of them on the money line to just win?
See, that's where they get you, because they know that there's a high probability of getting the money line on these games. And if you want to parlay all of them, that's where it's going to get you tonight. You got to pick them, beat the spread, because not everybody's going to hit the spread tonight, almost guaranteed.
Well, I know that, but that's why I'm picking any ones that I can on the money line. But they're not all allowed. Some of them, the Kentucky game did not offer that. And then some, here's one, Fairleigh Dickinson and Loyola doesn't offer that, although they're not ranked anyway. I'm just going to bet on the ranked teams. There's Alabama. They're only a 16-point favorite over Longwood.
Well, Longwood made the NCAA tournament last year, too, so they may be returning a lot, and they might be pretty decent themselves.
Wisconsin, not ranked, playing the South Dakota Coyotes at home, only a 12-point favorite.
Those Dakota teams have always been some hot shooting teams, so maybe that's their go-to this year as well.
Yeah, there's 3 in a row that you can't do the money line on. So, but Indiana, what was their spread? I haven't even seen them yet. 21, something like that.
Let me pull it back up. I shouldn't have exited out of that. I'll get it back for you.
I'm looking forward to tonight to see if we get a glimpse of a different style of rotation of what Coach Woodson has done up until now, playing in those other games, the 2 preseason games. I still expect to see a lot of guys playing. Whoever's healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if every scholarship player that's healthy plays tonight. He wants to continue to get minutes to evaluate his team, because it gets tough quick. But he's got some games that he can continue to do that. So we'll see who plays more. I think that Malik Renault will end up getting more minutes than Race Thompson, John Boy.
And Malik Renault I guess this would be a good night for sure, especially after the way that he's performed in the first 2 exhibition games. And this is going to be a good opportunity if Indiana gets off to a big lead against Morehead State. If you want to give somebody like Malik Renault, and some of these other young freshmen some quality minutes, I mean, this is one of the games you're going to want to do it in, especially before Xavier coming up in a couple of weeks or next week maybe. And then you got the big one with North Carolina. I mean, you want to get these guys like Renew, Jalen Hood-Schifino, even CJ Gunn. You're going to want to get them as many quality minutes as possible so that whenever these big non-conference games do show up, they'll feel more confident and ready to play in those kinds of environments.
I agree. Absolutely. And you also get when they need to, who's going to not make mistakes, who's making less mistakes, who's getting better, whose defense is improving. Like CJ Gunn is an example. Offensively, he's moving in the flow. Got to improve his defense. Xavier needs to get, he's Blair, but he needs to find a way to weld his game a little more into what everybody else, the team, is doing. What is he? 5 of 21 or so on the season right now, which I think I wish we had the clip. I didn't give you enough warning to get it, but Mike Whitson in the post game last week mentioned that he had a conversation with Xavier saying, hey man, you don't have to do it all this year. That he thinks he's just playing a little bit too fast and he needs to slow down. And he did have to do more last year. He didn't have a Jalen Hood-Schifino next to him. He just didn't. And the other guys are improved. I mean, I would certainly hope that Trace Jackson Davis is even a little bit better, that Race Thompson is better, that Miller Kopp is better. And with everyone better around him, that's less required of him. And he just needs to put his game in with everyone else. Kenneth thinks he's fine. He is fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with him or his game. He's a point guard. I don't think the point guard should be taking that many shots a game, personally. I think the point guard should be, which obviously Indiana doesn't have a point guard now. I think they have a two-headed snake with Xavier and Jalen Hood-Schifino. Man, those guys can play off of each other, and both basically be the point guard for that team. So there's that. Who is going to tonight's game? Looking forward to that. The weather's going to be great getting out to do that.
I'm also curious how many people have already given in and bought BTN Plus, because this is kind of their big ploy to get people to subscribe to their system by having Indiana be their first game that they're going to require fans to watch via their pay-per-view, I guess, type of system. You're able to do a free trial, right? Or do you have to pay for tonight's game? Am I mistaken?
Dude, you're talking to the wrong guy, man.
Because I'm being downright serious. If it's a pay for view for me, if I can't bootleg it, I probably won't be watching. I'll either watch the replay or I'll.
Well, that's smart to say over the air.
Well, what's wrong with? Oh, but I mean, people say that stuff all the time. People say that on live radio. People say that they bet in Kentucky all the time, and it's not legal in Kentucky.
What do you mean? Bet what?
Sports betting.
But how?
Using VPNs.
Because my app won't let me do that.
Yeah, if you can trick things into thinking you're somewhere else.
I'm not that. I guess I'm not that. I don't care about it that much. I don't do that much to worry about
There's plenty of degenerates over here that I'm not speaking of myself, but I'm talking about those who find ways to do it even though they don't live in the correct area.
Yeah, Caleb says Quinnipiac at Rhode Island under 140.5. It must be his Caleb says he likes Western Carolina plus 15 at Georgia. Georgia's not a ranked team, I don't think, but there you go. What does Georgia? What do they have? This is their first year post Tom Crean. What that's going to be like? Don't they have the former Florida coach there, Mike White?
Yeah, Mike White now in Georgia, I believe. Tom Crane, he's in television now too, right? Is that what he's doing? A season in television?
I would imagine. He is with ESPN. If he's doing anything, he's certainly not coaching.
And for those of you, real quick, I've got to go save my dog from being a complete fool. So I'll be right back.
Well, you do that. We don't want him to do that, but looking forward to getting out there tonight. Indiana plays at 7 p.m. Unfortunately for some of you, know that the game is on BTN Plus. I believe this is the last game that's on BTN Plus. Mike says there's no free trial that he knows of. Wyatt was not offered a free trial, and it's the only game of the year on BTN Plus. So Ross says he doesn't mind. He gets all the women's games and the soccer, baseball, etc., which they do offer a lot of other programming on there besides men's basketball. And can't you cancel it any time you want? Jennifer's going to listen to the game tonight while finishing. Oh my God. Thank God Dustin's not here putting up Christmas decorations. That is just ridiculous, people. It's not Christmas. It's not even Thanksgiving. We barely into the first week of November. But you do you, folks. You do you. It was just 70 degrees out. That's another thing. So, but that's my deal. Wyatt bought the subscription last week. Bought the Indiana subscription for the month for $10. So there you go. So that takes care of that. And don't forget, you can line that up with Don's broadcast. Now, the fortunate thing, I don't usually get to hear, obviously, the radio broadcast rarely because I'm at the games. But fortunately, the other night, my seat was right next to Don and Eric Sewer. So I did get to hear the broadcast, which was crazy because they were sitting right next to me. So hopefully that'll be the same tonight. Enjoyed that. Getting to hear the broadcast while watching the game. That was even better. So I enjoyed that thoroughly. But we'll have complete coverage. Oh, I forgot. And the post-game show tonight. Forgot all about that as we get the season started. Indiana Sports Beat, Indiana Basketball post-game show. It's so soon. I don't even know who the co-host is yet. I'll have to send that out later. But looking forward to doing that, our first one of the season, and getting that out to you guys. And trying to still figure out how to do that, John, because I will be in the press conference, post-game press conferences afterwards, in which we meet with the players and then with Mike Woodson. I'd like to get it started before then and then join.
And this is obviously we're talking about this live on the air, but the way that I envisioned it is if we have whoever our guests are, I can bring them on, toss it to them, and let them get things going. That may be how we do things.
That's kind of what in the heck, man. I hate when you have an oil spill. Gee whiz.
Oil spill in the golf club at Eagle Point Studios?
Yeah, just in a container. Now it's all over my hand. But yeah, I agree with you on that. That's exactly how I envisioned it as well. So I can hear what Woody and the players have to say. You guys can already begin to get the comments going, any questions going.
It's great this isn't necessarily a late night game, but there will be late night games. What is tip-off tonight? 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock. So that makes good. So that means, it's not too terribly late. It'll be good. The peeps will still be around. So look forward to that. John will be getting that link out to you guys during the day, and you can be ready. And
hopefully we'll have some good guests for you. I mean, it'll be great regardless of who we do.
Oh, we will always have good guests. Always have good guests. Just never know who. It's always going to be.
Hey, I've got to make an observation, Jim. I've noticed, have you been slowly coloring in your Indiana sports beat background?
Yes.
Last week I saw the S was blackened, and now you got the PO.
It's funny you say that because I noticed you couldn't see it on screen, so I'm like, I need to color that in. But I do a letter, then I forget about it. and let that one dry and then do another one. So then there's that. So yeah, but good catch. That's funny that you caught that. I still haven't been able to finish my I'm only at a 5-leg parlay right now.
They got to make it hard because I think there is a very likely chance that we're staring at 25-0 with these top 25 teams.
Well, I know, but I can't get all 25. Well, all 25 is not offered, but I will. Tomorrow comes around, I'll tell you how it went. I'm glad someone meant or I thought of that. It's going to be interesting just to see how it goes, just for giggles.
1 minute.
But I cannot thank Don Fischer enough, as always, for joining us here on Monday tonight. Of course, you can catch his broadcast as Indiana takes on Morehead State. The game starts at 7:05, so their pregame show probably will start at 6. And also thanks to Dustin Dopirak, now at the Indy Star, covering the Pacers, and Dustin Schutte, of course, always with us from theoutsider.com. Big thanks to John, the producer, for keeping things going. And, of course, the biggest thanks of all to you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here. I look forward to it. Wyatt said he made a 14-team parlay with the money line, and it had odds were only negative 130. Yeah, probably not great. We'll look forward to it. You guys have a great day, and until tonight, for the post-game show, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.